Right, if we could have everybody to their seats, please, then we can crack on. Let me see where I am. I've managed to get into a position where there's my stairs. Really, really should stop punching that when I'm playing VR chat. But well, what are you going to do? Right. Shut up, Pidge. Order in the court, order in the court. Hello there and welcome back to VR Court. For those of you who have just joined us, Mr. Shiraba is being accused of murdering his boss. For context that has been added, in the meantime, Mr. Shiraba worked at a bakery called The Bread Shop. He has pled not guilty to these crimes, so we are moving forward with a criminal case. On the prosecution stand, we have Mr. Optimus Winner, a fairly experienced lawyer who's riding a high from winning his last court case. Well done, Mr. Winnis. And on the defence stand, we have Mr. Kelvox, who I shall refer to from this point on as Mr. Vox, who is a brand new lawyer, I assume just out of law school, and has not done this before. So we will be throwing him a few more bones than we'll be throwing Mr. Winner, although we will be allowing the prosecution to make most of their arguments and everything first, so that Mr. Vox has an example of what will be expected of him and how the court goes. Now, I'm about to go into the spiel that I'm aware that everybody in this courtroom has heard, except for Mr. Vox, so I have to do it. We're going to talk. Take a moment, compose yourself, carry on like nothing happened, because we're not here to judge people at the end of the day. We're here to have a laugh and have some fun. And I just had a bit of structure to it.
I will judge all of you.
Because I'd like to. Now, I'd like to remind the gallery to shut the fuck up because I'm talking right now and I'm going to break my VR controller, and I physically broke my VR controller. You made me break my VR controller, Bob. Look at it. Look at it. You made me break it. God damn it. Why would you do that to me, Bob? Look, it's stuck. It's stuck, Bob. It's stuck. It's still stuck. Oh, there we go. The servo's died. Bob, you're very, very naughty. No. No. I'm not paid enough for this, but yes. With all of that information out of the way, and a quick idea of the kind of shit that goes on in these courtrooms, fuck you, I'm going to stop talking absolute shit, and I'm going to hand the floor over to the prosecution, Mr. Winner, to make his opening statement. So, that's the stairs again, isn't it? God damn it, stairs! Why are you in my way? Why can't you just not be there? God damn you, stairs! Ah! I'm going to open the floor and allow Mr. Winner to make his opening statement after that tangent. Oh, fuck off, you fucking stairs! Mr. Winner, your opening statement, if you would mind, please.
So, Your Honor, this man over here is very guilty of the crimes that he is accused of, including murder. He is an evil, evil man, and shall be sentenced to death, Your Honor.
Thank you for your opening statement, Mr. Winner. Short, concise, and to the point of what you think should happen to the accused. Mr. Vox, I'm now going to hand the floor over to you to make your opening statement. You've had an example of a simple opening statement from Mr. Winner. Do as you see fit, old boy.
Alright, first of all, in the camera, wasn't seen holding a weapon to kill the boss. He just had a ball and that was all. He was just making jokes about the boss and all that stuff, so I think he's not really guilty of that kind of charge.
Okay, thank you for your opening statement, Mr. Vox. An interesting one, brought up a bit of your case. I'll be looking forward to seeing how you present there. Maybe going for a manslaughter via diminished responsibility charge, which would probably be a very good line to follow, but thank you. Now that we have finished with opening statements and the judge's summary of bullshit, we're going to hand over to Mr. Winner to present his full and frank case using all of the evidence that he has acquired. Mr. Vox, you may object as you see fit. Mr. Winner, unfortunately, the floor is yours, old boy.
Just for I just want to say that I moved close to the defendant and just hear him. He's quite quiet.
Yes, if you want to move closer to the defence, you are welcome to do so, Mr. Winner. Excuse me.
So, to begin, you turn the camera on, Your Honor.
Which camera, sorry? You're lagging out a little bit for me, old boy.
Camera 1.
Camera number 1. Right.
So, Your Honor, he broke into the bakery with a baseball bat at around 5 minutes past 10 p.m. Well, after work, obviously. Good, you turn to camera 2.
Camera number 2.
So this is something that me and the defence established, is that the owner of the bakery lived, he lived there in, well, he lived there. And as he heard the accused breaking in, he got out and he went to see what was going on. And Mr. Shiraba here opened fire 6 times onto the man, and he hit this clock here at 10 minutes past 10, Your Honour. And the other 1 bullet landed in the wall, and 4 entered into the victim of the crime. Could you turn to camera 3, Your Honour? So he did not break in for no reason. He probably earns minimum wage as earning in a bakery, but working in a bakery. But he found all this money inside his boss's room, and he put all of it in his bag. He also looted the boss's ring from his finger, and stole the boss's phone, which were all found on Mr. Shiraba when he was arrested.
Go ahead with your objection, Mr. Vox.
Alright, first of all, would a boss would keep all his money in his own room?
He would.
But would he put it inside one drawer then, instead of a safe?
He put it. Yeah, he probably put it in a drawer or something. I don't know.
But that would have been easy for him to grab the money. So why wouldn't he put it in the safe then?
Well, we don't know if he has a safe or not.
Okay. But where was the phone like?
Where was the what? The phone was in the room of Mr. Shiraba here. I guess you could say the office.
Okay, Mr. Vox. Mr. Winnie, you may carry on with your case. Thank you for your objection, Mr. Vox. A very good first objection in court. I'll give you that for nothing. Much better than some of the stuff I hear.
No, my next piece of evidence is something not right now. Don't go on it. I'd like to keep it for witness questioning, as it will require it.
Very well. As long as you remember to do it this time, Mr. Winner, I will allow you to keep that piece of evidence for witness questioning.
I will.
Does that mean your case is drawn to a close, Mr. Winner?
For now, Your Honour.
For now, well, a short and concise case in relation to how the murder was committed. A bit of motive in there. It seems like in Mr. Winner's eyes it was a very simple break in, rob the place for money, steal things off a dead man's corpse, and then leave to eat breadcrumbs in the alley. Very interesting. Thank you for your case, Mr. Winner. Mr. Vox, having heard the prosecution's full and frank case, I'm now going to hand the floor over to you to present your full and frank case. And I've got great hopes that you're not going to be a complete waste of time. So, Mr. Vox, the floor belongs to you. Please don't shit on it. Pigeons.
Alright. So shall we
Okay,
go
can you
on
stand in the middle?
to camera 5?
Camera number 5, certainly. Oh, 2 pieces of evidence.
Alright, first of all, he had the bull in somewhat in his pockets apparently. He didn't even have the bat as any other kind of, tool to hurt the boss, but instead he had the bull just to throw at the boss's face.
Go ahead with your objection, Mr. Winner.
Are you saying that he was with the boss at the 10 to 10:15 p.m. with basketball? Or
Yeah,
are you
he
just
was.
saying in the?
So he was playing some basketball with some of his friends, and
In
then
the bakery?
the boss called him to go to his office, and after a while, the boss told him that he was fired, and he got very angry, so he threw the basketball to the boss's face instead of a bat. Because why would he have a bat in basketball?
So you're saying he still
Mr.
threw a ball
Winner,
at his face, which
Mr.
is a
Winner, you're not technically
yeah,
at the point of objection at the moment because his case has resumed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I understand that it's difficult for you to object because you're standing closer into
Yeah, I
you
could
follow the
object
rules,
again.
old boy.
Yeah.
I'm going
Objection,
to...
Your Honour.
allow your objection, although, again, once again, just, I know you're away from your stand so you can hear the defense, but go ahead with your objection, Mr. Winner.
So you're essentially saying that he assaulted the boss by throwing a basketball at his face for being fired, which may or may not have killed him depending on how hard. I'm not saying that you're saying that he killed him, but I'm saying he hit him in the face between 10 and 10:15, which is coincidentally when the boss died.
Alright, so after he threw the ball through the boss's face, he then decided just to leave. After a while, he just, came back and, punched him in the face constantly just to get the job done, leaving a few bruises on his face, which is ironically could be from the prosecution's hands.
Mr. Winner, your objection point is once again moot because there's only so much you can bring up. You're not questioning the lawyer, if that makes sense.
Objection.
Overruled. Carry on with your case, Mr. Fox.
Okay.
Alright, should we go to camera 6?
Camera number 6. Oh my, Winner's mother. Is not this lady.
So around that little, after a while, after he punched the boss's face, he decided to go somewhere else to steal this body pillow.
I'm going to allow your objection, Mr. Winner. I'm going to allow it because I like this.
So, you've clarified so far, and you've said yourself, that on the night, he assaulted his boss. Oh wait, my game's breaking. So he assaulted his boss and stole a body pillow. So these are two crimes. So even if my crime, I'm saying even if my my case is lost, then you're still admitting to burglary and assault, correct?
Okay. But after a while, after that one little moment, he decided, just give this body pillow for the boss as a gift for some reason. Just
So he stole this and gave it as a gift. I don't feel I need to say any more, Your Honor.
Then I suggest you don't, because once again your objection point was moot, because you can push his objection button if you're standing over there to object, Mr. Winner, in future, but you must object.
It could be better if he stood over here, maybe, or something
No,
like that.
that's where he stands.
Okay.
Carry on with your case, Mr. Fox.
Alright, should we move to camera number 7?
Camera number 7, frying pan, death.
So once in a while, he found a frying pan in some alleyway, and he decided just to cook some breadcrumbs that he left in the alleyway.
Objection?
I'm going to allow you to go on with your objection, Mr. Winner, if only to hear how this is relevant to anything, although it is hilarious.
How exactly is this relevant to the case that he cooks the bread pan? It's not really relevant to the case. Or maybe it was. Maybe he went home afterwards to cook it, or something like that.
Do allow Mr. Fox to explain, Mr. Winner.
Okay. Could you please explain?
Well, when he went home, he cooked the breadcrumbs they found in the alleyway, came back and threw those at the boss's arm.
Threw this at the boss?
Yeah, threw the these burning breadcrumbs to the boss's arm.
Oh, I see what
So far we've confirmed that he has assaulted his boss, which is a crime, burgled, which is a crime, and at some point has also thrown. So you're saying he went back to the bakery and threw breadcrumbs at him, which I guess is classified as assault. I think. So 2 counts of assault and 1 account of burglary. burglary.
I mean, that's still
Very
better
well.
than a count of murder, so I'm more than happy to allow the defence to carry on with the case, which I must admit, if I'm being completely honest, is frankly fantastic as far as I care. This is one of the best, oh my god, what the hell is going on cases I've had in a while.
It is.
And I tried Godzilla for fucking a train not long ago. Carry on, Mr. Vox, I'm enjoying this.
And then for a tiny while he just, left and never came back for a long time. And he just never came back to it at all, just,
I guess I could object. So
Go ahead.
you're saying he left the bakery and never went back for a long time, which doesn't really matter. It would be like someone murdering someone, just running away and the crime being washed away.
Can I ask something, Mr.
It's
Winner?
not that relevant.
If it's
yes,
not relevant
yeah,
and
yes,
doesn't
Roma.
matter, why do we need to object to it? Surely you can just let it stand. And
I was thinking
I'll
of that, Your
decide if
Honour.
it's
I
important
could have
or
just
not,
let it
you know?
stand. I could have, Your Honour.
I do suggest, Mr. Winner, you shush down for a
I'd
moment
like-
and let
I'd like
Mr.
the
Vox
defence
carry
to
on with his
continue.
case. Please.
Okay, Your Honour, I
Mr.
apologise.
Vox, do carry on.
Can we go to camera 8?
Camera number 8, a shredder. Or is it?
Okay, somewhat after a while, we found the shredders somewhere and found took all the money that he stole and shredded it in the shredder. So
Objection.
Overruled for the moment. Abstained, rather, Mr.
Okay,
Winner.
okay.
Abstained. Carry on, Mr. Vox.
Okay, Your Honour.
and after a little while, he decided, well, just to eat it for some reason. I don't know why he picked it up with the money, but okay. So he apparently ate the money crumbs that the shredder has left behind, just to hide all the evidence that you might possibly find.
Okay, your objection,
Might
Mr.
be
Winner, from earlier on.
excited.
One moment, Mr.
Okay.
Vox. One moment, Mr. Vox.
So we okay. So now you've admitted to 2 counts of assault, 1 account of burglary, and now a robbery because he assaulted him and no, we're not sure when he took the money, but he stole the money. It could be burglary or so at least 2 counts of burglary if we're being mild, and 2 counts of assault. Is that what you're confirming?
Mr.
I'm
Vox.
sorry, Your Honour, my mind's just kind of like
Mine is
slightly
a bit weird,
melting
so
a bit.
I have a simple question here that I'm going to ask Mr. Vox. Mr. Vox, as the defense attorney, do you know if the victim, the gentleman who was murdered at any point during the proceedings, made a phone call to the emergency services?
Well, he really called the emergency services just to get help, as he left his body behind just to rot.
I see. Okay, all I wanted to know is what the accused made a call. Just before we go for this objection, Mr. Winner,
Yep.
Mr.
Yeah.
Vox, I've dropped the coin. I'm just going to ask you nice and quickly, old boy, heads or tails?
Heads?
Okay!
Your Honour, what is
Mr.
this
Winner,
for
your
exactly?
objection, please.
You're saying he called the emergency services to get the body. So you're admitting that he did murder him. So 1 account of murder and 2 accounts of
Mr.
burglary.
Winner, if I may quickly point out, I believe Mr. Vox, the question was framed as to if the victim, the gentleman who was murdered, had called the emergency services during this proceeding, not Mr. Shearer, which is what was confirmed by
Okay.
Mr. Vox. Just to clear that confusion up, Mr. Winner, which would make your
Okay.
objection on this particular matter rather moot. Carry on, Mr. Vox.
Okay,
Carry on
the
if you have any
defense
more
continue.
case to make.
I think that's it, me now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Winner, return to your seat, please. Ooh. Well, I must admit, those are 2 cases that I thoroughly enjoyed. And that's genuine sort of laughter rather than the fake put-on one. I do like Mr. Winner's case. It's short and concise and has built up an idea as to why. And I particularly like Mr. Vox's case because he seems to have no fear whatsoever for throwing his client underneath the bus. He's pulled him out from underneath the train and put him underneath the bus. So I'd rather be hit by a bus than the train. Personally, I might actually survive that. So good on you for your first case. Actually been impressed with that, and you. And believe it or not, I already kind of know what my result is. So hey, isn't courtroom fantastic? But of course, that could all change, because now we're moving on to witness questioning. Hurrah! The bit that extends and makes courtroom really, 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 really long. So we have two witnesses in this case. We have the accused, Mr. Shiraba himself, and we have Mr. Tartan Rock, who was also an employee at the bread shop. These two witnesses can be called. Of course, they'll have to be sworn in as per the normal. They will give us their witness testimony, and then the lawyers will be allowed to ask them questions, although not too many, because I don't want witness questioning to go on for a million years if at all we can avoid it. So, Mr. Winner, as the prosecuting lawyer, which witness would you like to call to the stand first? Mr. Shiraba or Mr. Tartan?
I'd like to call Mr. Shirabu.
Very
Mr.
well.
Shiraba.
Mr. Winner, do take a seat.
I'd like to call
Do
forward.
take a seat. Sit down. We have to do the Pledge of Honesty first, remember?
Oh yeah, of course we do.
Right, Mr. Shiro. To be sworn in for witness testimony, you have to repeat the phrases after me. Nice and simple. Are you ready?
No, but okay.
I, Shiraba 61,
I, Shiraba 61,
promise to tell the truth,
promise to tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth,
and nothing but the truth,
even if it's what my lawyer says,
even if it was what my lawyer said,
and he's probably not very happy,
and he's not probably very happy,
that I'm paying him in breadcrumbs,
that I'm paying him in breadcrumbs,
rather than money,
rather than money,
but I don't want to make my case look completely fucked,
but I don't want to make my case look completely fucked,
so I should probably do roughly what he says
so I should probably do roughly what he says.
in witness testimony.
In
Witness testimony.
witness testimony.
Also, why the fuck did I fry breadcrumbs? Why would he do that? What's the fucking point? So help me God.
So help me God.
Good enough, close enough. Mr. Winner, you may not begin your questioning yet, because Mr. Shiru, you have to give us your testimony. Tell me, on the night of the murder, let's say between the hours of 9 and 3 a.m. the next morning, what were you doing? What happened, Mr. Shiru? Let's have your witness testimony.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that last half bit? My hearing's going a bit weird.
That's right. Let your witness testimony, what happened roughly between the hours of 9 p.m. till 3 in the morning of the night of the murder. What did you do? Probably what your lawyer said, but let's see if you say something different.
Who? I was playing with the basketball as he said, and I got a phone call from my boss. He told me to come in, and as a result, he fired me. At which point I threw the basketball at him, and it did hit him a little bit hard, but it bounced back. I didn't see anything from it, I didn't see any blood, so I don't know. I walked off in a bit of a storm, went kind of home and was very depressed, and I raided my breadcrumb cupboard for the rest of the evening.
So you didn't do anything else? Just that, yes?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shiraba, for your witness testimony. Mr. Winner, would you like to question the witness?
I have not listened.
Yes, I would. So, Your Honour, please could you turn to camera 4?
Camera number 4.
I'd just like to clarify that I've known this all time. So, there's something which I did not mention during my original case, and that's that you also stole a card. And it is not a bank card, it is just a VR sec card, whatever that is. And Mr. Shiraba, I'd just like to ask, do you have any addictions by any chance?
Could you repeat that bit for me? It went a bit laggy there.
Do you have any addictions by any chance, Mr. Shiraba?
Addictions.
Addictions.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Just a break.
Just breadcrumbs. Okay, is this bottle of wine yours by any chance?
No.
So, it's not yours, even though the police say it was found in your apartment.
Mr. Winner, just before we carry on, Mr. Winner,
Yes.
good measure, I'm thinking
Yes,
of a number
I
between
know,
1
I
and
know.
10. What
Okay.
number am I thinking of, Mr. Winner?
Number 3, Your Honor.
And what number am I thinking of, Mr. Shiru?
7.
Number 7. All right, carry on.
Yeah, so Jim,
So,
basically, it's
so
your
I have reason to believe that you may have been drunk or under the influence of drugs during the time when you committed the murder, as you need to earn enough money to pay for addiction, obviously. Which is why I believe you robbed your boss. Am I correct, or
I'm paid in breadcrumbs. I eat them every night. I'm happy.
so you admit that you're not paid much. Where do you live exactly? What kind of environment? Do you have to pay rent, or
I
do
live.
you just live in a nest of some sort?
I live in a fairly big nest. It's a big tree.
Okay, I don't really feel like I can ask that more to change the case in my favour, Your Honour.
Okay, thank you for your questioning, Mr. Winner. Interesting things have been revealed about the accused. I'm really enjoying this case far too much. Mr. Fox, would you like to cross-examine the witness? No is an acceptable answer, but you can if you want.
No, Your Honour.
No. Very well. In that case, then, thank you for your testimony, Mr. Shrew. Would you please go and take a seat next to your lawyer? Now, regardless of if the prosecution or the defence want to call the next witness to the stand, the court is going to call the next witness to the stand because I feel his testimony may be important in this particular case. As I said, I'm getting some really interesting vibes off this one, so, yeah. Mr. Tartan, would you please come and take a seat on the stand, where we must do the swearing in, as ever, and then we will, do the witness testimony and questioning. So, ooh, lots of people joining now. Mr. Tartan Rock, we need to swear you in before
my
you can give
friends.
your witness testimony, and of course that is the normal procedure of the Pledge of Honesty. All you have to do is repeat after me. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
I, Mr. Tartan Rock,
I, Mr. Tartan Rock,
promise to tell the truth,
promise to tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth,
nothing but the truth,
lest we find out
lest we find out
that underneath all of this really heavy armour that I'm wearing,
that underneath all this really heavy armour that I'm wearing,
I'm actually a real fucking pussy.
that I'm a real fucking pussy.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Fantastic! Thank you for the pledge of honesty, Mr. Tartan. You are now sworn in to give your testimony. So, Mr. Tartan, for the court's record and knowledge, especially those of you who have just joined, hello there, you are an employee at the bread shop, the bakery where the accused also worked and the victim owned. You worked alongside Mr. Shiraba. Could you please tell us your witness testimony for the court?
Your Honour, on the evening of the event, it was a standard evening. I was baking bread. Mr. Shiraba was eating the breadcrumbs off the floor. The boss shouted at him for clearing the breadcrumbs off the floor. We ignored the boss. Never really liked the boss, the pair of us, to be honest, but we worked and persevered under him. It was a fairly standard night when we closed up shop. I was going to play basketball with Mr. Shiraba, but I had to go and shoot some aliens. Honestly, it was a shock that our boss was killed. We didn't like him, but we didn't want him dead. Sure, certainly.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony. Before I allow Mr. Winner to proceed with questioning, I'm only going to ask you one question from the court's perspective, if that's all right, Mr. Tartan.
Yeah.
Do you think the accused, with his mental status of being a pigeon who is fed in breadcrumbs, lives in a massive nest and literally eats breadcrumbs off the floor so you don't need a broom, do you think he's actually capable of committing the murder of the boss?
I don't think he's capable, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Winner, would you like to question the witness?
Okay. So, you've admitted that you both did not like the boss.
No, he was a bit of a git.
Okay. Did Mr. Shiraba have the addictions to alcohol or drugs by any chance?
Only breadcrumbs. He loved those breadcrumbs.
Only breadcrumbs.
Didn't need to touch a broom or anything.
That was horrible.
Is Mr. Shiraba a violent man, or...?
A little violent. If he got between him and his
what do you mean
breadcrumbs.
What do you mean by little violent? Oh, wait a second. Between him and his breadcrumbs, you say?
If he just got in the way of his meals, he might get a bit punchy, but
Well,
I couldn't blame him. That was what he was paid in.
I've learned that Mr. Shiraba, well, we know that Mr. Shiraba is paid in breadcrumbs, and you just said that he can get violent when he does not get set breadcrumbs. So I believe this is a motive of why he may have committed the crime. At the current moment, from what you said.
I would do anything for breadcrumbs.
Exactly.
Gotta make that bread.
So,
That bread.
these
babies don't get- these babies don't
you
get
admit that he
themselves.
can get a bit violent. Has this ever happened before, by any chance? Has he gotten a scrap over breadcrumbs, or...?
Oh, only between me, and that was years ago when I first started there, and I didn't know he was protective of his breadcrumbs. We're good friends now.
Okay. I don't... Wait, did you know where he was on between 10 and 10:15 PM that evening, when you were fighting aliens?
He was playing basketball. I was offered to play, but I had to go. I couldn't go with him that evening.
Okay. Are you sure this was not an excuse for him maybe murdering his boss, or assaulting his boss, or...
No, he just sort of sometimes like to shoot the hoops after work, sometimes.
This is... okay. That's all I'd like to ask, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Winner, for your question.
Nothing
Much
else really needed.
appreciated. Mr. Vox, would you like to cross-examine the witness?
No, Your Honour.
Very well. In that case, then, no questions from the defence on either of the witnesses, which is absolutely fine, and plenty from the prosecution. Thank you, Mr. Tartan. You may return to the galley and take a seat.
Thank you, Your Honour.
Right, and that brings us now to the point where we've almost finished with the court case. So the next part of court, as I explained during proceedings, is amendments. Now we've had a couple as the court has gone on, things Mr. Winner has changed ever so slightly, which is absolutely fine during the procedure, but now at this point is where you make them officially. If you would like to make any changes to your court case in any way, shape or form, now is the time to do it. No, of course, is a very acceptable answer to this. So, Mr. Winner, as the prosecutor, you get to go first. Would you like to make any amendments to your court case?
Amendment, you know.
Go ahead, Mr. Winner.
And from the witness questioning, he could get very angry over his addiction, which not so I wasn't aware of it.
Okay, you broke up a little bit there, that might be my internet, but your basic amendment is that the accused is known to get angry and aggressive about his addiction to breadcrumbs, not alcohol. Is that the basis of your amendment, Mr. Winner?
You're right.
I will accept that amendment into the court records as it does appear to be accurate. Thank you, Mr. Winner. Moving on. Mr. Vox, would you like to make any amendments to your court case? No, of course, being a very acceptable answer.
Right, yeah, okay. So, out of
after a short while of the gift of the body pillow, he just decided, you know what, screw this, I'm just gonna take it and leave without any remorse, and that's what he did. He just decided to leave without any more remorse and literally flew the bird at the boss.
Well, I didn't exactly hear what he said.
I got the Rogers. Your amendment basis is that he did not leave the body pillow with the boss as a present, but instead flipped the boss off and kept it for himself. Is that the basis of your amendment, Mr. Vox?
Yes, Your Honor.
The court will accept this amendment to your court case as well. Thank you, Mr. Vox. Is there any other amendments you'd like to make, or are we all square?
Well, you're square, Your Honor.
All square. Fantastic. Well, a sensible
I think
amendment
he's a
on
bit round.
each side, which is always a very nice thing to see, which now means we're moving on to the last part of court where the lawyers are necessarily required. This, of course, being your closing statements. A short and sweet sentence, statement, conversation, interpretive dance if you really want, though neither of you have VR, so you can't do that, about your case. There are no objections during closing statements, but you are allowed to bring up evidence that has been brought up to secure your case. And then we move on to Judge's summary, and oh boy, I'm looking forward to this one. So, Mr. Winner, I lend you the floor to make your closing statement to the court, if you be so kind.
So, Your Honour, I've clearly proved that this man murdered his boss, and, well, even if you do not believe me, the defence has clearly said that he has committed two accounts of burglary and 2 accounts of assault. That is all, Your Honour.
Okay then, thank you for your closing statement, Mr. Winner. Vastly appreciated. Mr. Vox, if you will please make your closing statement to the court, we'd appreciate that.
Okay, so, really, this is just my first time in here, as you mentioned, so I'm not really sure about this kind of stuff, but I really knew about, what he has kind of done. As somewhat I possibly see him going berserk because of his boss yelling at him for eating breadcrumbs off the floor. And my, I think it might be possibly some kind of addicted person, addicted breadcrumb eater in any shape or form.
Okay.
Strengthens my case.
Thank you, Mr. Vox, for your closing statement. And with that, we bring the lawyer's part of these cases to a close. A genuinely interesting case presented by the prosecution and the defence. And I know I say it at the end of every case, but I've genuinely enjoyed listening over this one, seeing the new lawyer spread his wings and the old lawyer spread his bullshit. Everything that you'd expect from time to time. So now we're going to move on to the judge's summary, where I proceed to sum up the entire case and everything I've interpreted. Of course, there are no kind of interruptions, objections, or anything in judge's summary, just information if I request it. So I'm going to do the odd thing of placing that up there like that. Come on. Lovely. And let's begin, starting with the prosecution's case on podium number 1. This was the baseball bat that was allegedly used to break into the bakery at around 10:05 by the accused. He used it to break in. Fair enough. We established later on that he was actually caught there, so this is a bit of an interesting point on the lawyer's case. There were no DNA tests or any kind of fingerprinting done on this baseball bat, so an interesting piece of evidence. It's believable that Mr. Shirabo would own a baseball bat living in a nest in the middle of nowhere, but somewhat irrelevant evidence. Number 2 being the time and a gun. Once again, very interesting points here. This is a clock showing 10:10, the time that the victim died. From 4 gunshot wounds. 4 entered the victim's body, 1 entered the wall, and 1 hit the clock, freezing it in time. Isn't it convenient whenever you poke a clock, it immediately stops at the time the thing happened? But it is what it is! Once again, there was no questioning from the defence, but on the prosecution side, there was no linking of this weapon to the accused. No kind of gun license, no mention of pigeon law of gun licenses, no mention as to why a pigeon would need a gun, no fingerprint testing, absolutely nothing along those lines, and it wasn't particularly pushed too hard. It would have ended up being a coin toss if things weren't certain for sure, to be fair, which I know you want to avoid the random choice in a court, but do not establish and link this with the accused is quite dangerous and has led me to other conclusions which I'll come into. Number 3 is a large amount of money, a telephone, and a ring that was allegedly taken far from the victim by the accused. A ring off his dead finger, his mobile telephone, and a large selection of money. It's believable that if this was a robbery, which it could well have been, to feed an addiction to breadcrumbs, although he got fed in breadcrumbs, so taking money makes no sense, although certainly the defence said feeds into this very, very well, which I'll go into in just a moment. It's believable that he could take these objects for certain. Found on him, could be in a nest. Pigeons are known to collect things. I give Pidge empty pie containers, and he absolutely loves taking them to a corner and collecting them, so it's very believable that a pigeon gentleman, slightly more evolved, could do this. The money, the defence pointed out, he had taken to a shredder, which was a different piece of evidence, and shredded a large amount of money to try and eat the bits. Perhaps Mr. Shirabo doesn't quite understand how society works and the fact that breadcrumbs do not actually come from money. But seeing that other people are given money as a form of payment, perhaps in his mind, money equals food, equals shredding, equals small bits to eat. That's how I interpreted that particular bit, so fairly interesting there. Number 3, and number 4 was only relevant during witness questioning, but I'll bring it up now. Pills that were most likely not explained, but I'll assume will come down to the addictive side of things. A bottle of wine which was found in Mr. Shirabo's nest, and the wine was found in Mr. Shirabo's nest, as the coin toss came up in Mr. Winner's favour. It was found in his nest half drunk and full of breadcrumbs, so don't really know what was going on there. There's also the card. Didn't think that was too relevant to the case, but an interesting one that does push forward that Mr. Shirabo does have an addiction, although not necessarily to what Mr. Winner was saying in the first place. Breadcrumbs rather than wine, which I believe was amended as well, as it was proven that Mr. Shirabo gets very aggressive when you take his breadcrumbs away from him. So that was the basis of the prosecution's case, and a very interesting one, although he did fail to link some rather important pieces of evidence to the accused, which is rather unfortunate, but a mistake that many people make. It was a very logical sense to go down, and I was quite pleased with it. Moving on to the defence's case. According to the defence, the accused was playing basketball from the time before, we can assume between the hours of 9 and 9:45 at night with friends. This was cross-referenced by Mr. Tartan Rock, who was invited to play basketball but did not. He was then phone called, and I'm going to assume that's meant to be a phone in the top corner, but he was then rung and told to come to the bakery, which he proceeded to do so, arriving at about 10 o'clock. At the bakery, he was told that he was fired, get out, and he raged through the basketball at the owner's face, which, yes, would be assault, as Mr. Winner pointed out, so there's a charge of assault there, as confirmed by both the witness, the accused, and the lawyer. So, interesting point there. Number 6 was the body pillow. Allegedly, after he was fired, Mr. Shinru immediately went and stole this body pillow. Never told us where he stole it from, but he stole this body pillow, and in the original case, took it back to the boss as an apology for throwing a basketball in his face, getting fired, eating breadcrumbs off the floor, although an amendment was put into the case that this was not the case, where he went back to the bakery, gave the boss the middle finger, and went off probably back to his nest with his body pillow that he'd stolen. We still don't know where from, but he'd stolen it, so a case of theft. Evidence number 7 was a frying pan that he allegedly found in an alley and took back to his nest and proceeded to fry up a load of breadcrumbs, which he then allegedly took back and threw at the owner, which would be another case of assault or grievous bodily harm. Although this piece of evidence was a little bit contrived because it was that, and then it wasn't that, and then it was, so I'm going to keep that interpretation of it. The witness himself, the accused, didn't make reference to this, so some of these pieces of evidence are a bit suspect, but it is what it is. So moving on to evidence number 8. No. Evidence number 8 was a shredder, and I've referenced this earlier when talking about Mr. Winner's evidence number 3, which was that he took the money that he had acquired, I believe taken from the location. I don't remember if that was fully specified, but he took the money and he shredded it, and then he tried to eat it. I can tell you from experience that pigeons are this stupid. They are physically this damn stupid. So I could totally believe that he'd done that. Now, where the money came from is a questionable thing. Perhaps he was paid in breadcrumbs, but he was also paid in money, but he was paid in breadcrumbs, but he was paid in money, but he didn't cover the money payment. It wasn't necessarily specified. So there were quite a few holes made in the defence's case as well that didn't quite sit right with me. I think when it came to witness questioning, Mr. Shiraba saying that he did go to the bakery itself and threw the basketball when he found out he'd been fired, and then went home and indulged in his breadcrumb collection, which I assume doesn't exist anymore. No mention of the other things that his lawyer claimed that he had done, perhaps in a self-preserving method, I don't know there, but I'm inclined, as the lawyer has said it, to believe that Mr. Shirabu committed these other bits and pieces. There was no talk from the prosecution of the likes that the defence's case came after as to any kind of burn injuries or anything along those lines that were found on the victim at the time, although allegedly if he'd gone back at that point, he'd come back so many times in 5 minutes, something to believe this or not. So it's a bit screwed up on the defence's side, but very interesting. But witness questioning, Mr. Tartan didn't like the boss, but didn't think he was capable of murdering him, was quite surprised the boss was murdered. Knew Mr. Shiro, got on with him quite well, didn't play basketball because he was killing aliens. Cheers for that, mate, much appreciated. Didn't think much else interesting came up in witness questioning, but the interesting point was a question that I asked myself, which was to the defense as if the victim of the crime had at any point called the emergency services, which was confirmed as a yes. And so, using my completely illogical and nonsensical protogen-style programming, there's an interesting point to be made here. I am not convinced that the story presented by both sides is necessarily true. And I am also aware of how incredibly corrupt the Lolly Police Department are. I know a bird who was arrested for no reason. It was very rude. And so, my interpretation of this case is that after Mr. Shiro had left, assumably with the money, assuming he stole the money on the first time around, which is why he did not return with the body pillow, meaning he may have brought the body pillow with the stolen money before attempting to eat it, which would show an understanding of human society and culture the way we build up. I believe that at that time, after the police were called, probably about 6 minutes past, the Lolly Police Department barged into the building at 10 past, and they went in and they saw the victim standing there with a loaf of bread. And doing what they do best, I believe that they fired off 6 rounds towards him, shooting him 4 times, believing that he was the gentleman who they had been caught about, the gentleman who had assaulted the owner, the gentleman who was robbing the building, the gentleman who was the accused. And so, therefore, I don't believe that Mr. Shirabar is actually the person who committed the murder, although I accept that there are going to be a charge of assault, a charge of grievous bodily harm, theft, and robbery charges put against him, which we'll deal with in a moment. I don't believe that Mr. Shirabu is guilty of the crime. Therefore, on the basis of my amazing logic, and if you're curious, yes, this is what the coin toss very early in the case was about, I find Mr. Shirabar innocent of the murder of the accused. However, I find him guilty of robbery, assault, grievous bodily harm, and I'm going to say theft as well. Because the defense admitted to these crimes and have not argued them, I shall be giving him the lesser sentence of being fed to a hawk. He won't eat all of you.
A hawk?
Yes, he won't eat all of you, just most of you. And what's left will be sent to schools to
that's
teach
how my
them.
brother went.
Excuse me, Mr. Show. What is left of you, which will be kept alive medically, of course, will be sent to schools to teach children as to why they shouldn't get addicted to breadcrumbs. Case dismissed.
No! Oh, they took my brother out!
I see this as a complete win. That's probably worse than death.